birthday, New Year's Eve, and another weird winter. Luna and I had been seeing each other every 2 weeks or so since I moved back home. Either I'd make the drive up to Hip Forest, or she'd drive down to the northern woods and stay with me and my parents. This worked better for us than I expected, as our phone conversations made us miss each other and built up sexual tension. The confusing aspect was that the space was definitely working for us, but didn't that imply that we probably shouldn't live together again? What does a couple do when they realise that they can only stand each other once every 2 weeks? Anyway, I went up to Hip Forest when my birthday came around in December, and Luna took me to a Norwegian spa boat in Montrese. The spa was a large steamboat with multiple steam rooms, saunas, hot tubs, and ice water bath barrels. One of the sauna rooms was even scented with bergamot, an unexpected yet perfect scent for a sauna. There was nothing wrong with the date itself, albeit we were required to remain silent inside the spa, but we managed to share some bickering before and after the date. All the way down to trying to find parking, somehow the dialogue tended toward exchanges of offensives and defensives, and even though it was an awesome birthday, it was hard to ignore those sore spots. Just like our past arguments and conflicts, these small ones also simmered down, and we amicably parted ways once again the next day. Our next time together was to be New Year's Eve, which we'd spend with Rashid and his fiancée further up north in the northern woods on the mid-coast. The plan was to take some mycospawn, to roll into 2019 together on the same page, to purge unnecessary energies, and to have greater understanding in the relationship. That was my idea at least, and she seemed more or less on board, but retained a strong "we will see when we get there" mentality. It was a solid plan in my eyes, though even I had some pangs of trepidation about our first mycospawn consumption together. I didn't know what I'd do if she slipped into the dark depths, unable to handle what the mycospawn revealed to her. We'd keep the dose relatively low probably, knowing her thinking about powers. A week before New Year's, though, I had Christmas with my parents, and my parents only. For the first year ever, Rashid didn't join us for Christmas, and his presence was deeply missed. Luna also didn't show up for Christmas, opting for her dad's side of the family's celebration, so I was quite alone with my parents. The whole day was sad and lonely, despite my elders' best efforts, because I needed someone there from my generation, someone who would understand my jokes. That's the bulk of that experience, however short it may seem here. You don't realize how lonely Christmas can feel until your original crew is randomly split up one year, and you're left with the less interesting guests. I had high hopes for that New Year's party at Rashid's, though. The recipe had solid potential. The four of us would have a unifying, liberating trip, and then consequently throw the perfect party where we would ride the supreme vibes we had harnessed from the day's events. Our trip to visit Rashid and Kara was going well, with little to no conflict between me and Luna, so without hesitation we took our portions of mycospawn. They were quite modest portions, and I was wondering if this would really do it for Luna, if it would really take us to the same place. She partly took control of the pre-experience ritual as we pulled tarot cards that suggested different intentions for our trips based on our respective card symbols. Mine predicted creativity, as it tended to, and it didn't seem that I'd be getting too much of a novel yield from this trip. Kara and I consumed a bit of green power, the seasoned regular users we were, and the four of us took off to the woods. Luna's first signs of communion with psilocytes were a silly, hazy giggliness that was uncharacteristic of her baseline demeanour. She was utilising the mycospawn as a light euphoric intoxicant, which, though commonplace in the community, was a bit disappointing to me. I wanted this to be a relatively intense and reflective experience, with some solid takeaways, not just some afternoon in the woods laughed away. But I worked with her energy and tried to just be happy that she was having a good time, that we were having a good time together. Not to mention we spotted a large fox in someone's backyard, basking in the afternoon light before dashing into the woods. What an auspicious symbol before we pranced about the river's edge. Our conversation remained neutral or minimal, Luna seeming to want a break from whatever my dialogue tended to be. Fine by me, I could enjoy myself in the confines of my mind or share an interesting chat with Rashid. The two of us got into an interesting conversation about how the ducks were afraid of us, because so many of them get shot. What if we didn't kill animals? How much more alignment would we have with them, and how nice would it be to be able to pet a wild duck? These were good points, but as we moved to contemplating the scene of a factory farm, Kara broke in and dissuaded Rashid from continuing the conversation for the sake of preserving the good vibes. It was a bit dismissive, but I respected their unity and power dynamic. I received minor visuals at best, and felt my connection to psilocytes in that moment to be laughable, however enjoyable as company for the green power. I can't remember much more of the experience as we made our way back to the apartment to prepare for the small party at Rashid and Kara's. Rashid did me a proper tarot reading with 3 cards, and I actually found it to be accurate and nuanced in meaning. Perhaps more of psilocytes had infiltrated my defences than I had noticed. The party was fun, and the few guests were of good kind. Luna drank much more than usual, and nursed a solid hangover in the morning. I hadn't seen her like that too many times before, and she tried to make it out as a thing that may leave her bedridden all day. It was annoying to me that she would try to make her hangover more important than anyone else's, when in fact we all drank a ton and simply wanted to get on with our day. We carried on and drove back to my place before she took back off to Hip Forest. As winter took hold further in the new year, I had no more soccer team to coach and decided to stick with substitute teaching for the rest of my time with my parents, teaching grades 6 through 8. Because the job was dependent on teachers not being able to teach for the day, I realised that I should also get a second job. Of course, the highest paying, most flexible job I could find part-time was another data entry job, a 30-minute drive away with the morning traffic. With years of experience doing data entry up at Hip Forest, I got the job no problem and became the latest employee at Logger Pros, a facility that takes on data entry projects for a variety of clients. Like the last job, I could listen to whatever audio content I wanted the whole time and didn't really have to speak much to anyone. I was scheduled there Tuesday through Thursday every week and worked Mondays and Fridays as a substitute teacher as it was available. It was nice to have 4-day weekends most of the time, and thus plenty of extra time for working on my album. My plan to be more productive with creative projects by working less was going well, and I was saving plenty of money for the next step when I would move out of my parents' house. Mentally, I held up quite well that winter and was happy to visit Luna when I could. I stopped seeing Earl as much, mostly because it always felt a little sketchy over there, and he was damn near impossible to reach. At Logger Pros, I listened to my fair share of the One Brogan Experience podcast, a podcast where a comedian interviewed celebrities, musicians, extreme athletes, and other interesting people in general. Sometimes I was reluctant to give in to the viewpoints of Juan and his guests, but they seemed to mean well and usually gave me good laughs or knowledge, especially during a time that was otherwise quite boring. I wouldn't work longer than 6-hour shifts of data entry because I had learned my lesson back at Hip Forest. No need to enter the madness of 8 hours a day of pure screen time again. Substitute teaching was very on and off, with respect to how much I enjoyed it. Sometimes it was funny to hear what these kids were thinking and to see their innocence play out. Other times it was depressing because I could tell the kids who were probably going to feel very alone for the rest of their schooling, and I could see the stupid popular kids enjoying the spotlight for no good reason. There was one time where I participated in a student versus teacher dodgeball match during a pep rally, and I got way too into it. I singled out the kids who had pissed me off the most during subbing, and then it was just me and a tall blonde 8th grader left, decked out in sweatbands, trying to flex as a means of obtaining what might be his first kiss. He didn't stand a chance. I dodged his throw and nailed him in the left leg, his undeveloped brain unable to process the muscle movement in time. A cheer started from the bleachers. "Mr. Steverino! Mr. Steverino!" This was too much for me, though I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the fanfare.